Welcome to the G-Spot.
Five, four, three, two, one.
Hello everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's G-Spot. I think this might be number 8 of the Gs, the most I've ever found. Joining me on the G-Spot is Raymond. How are you, Ray?
I'm doing very well. I'm still searching.
Good. Not good that you're still searching, but good that you're very well. We'll quickly mention that for anyone that's wondering why there wasn't a G-Spot in the off-season, basically two reasons. One, we didn't really get enough requests in about stuff, so either people are really happy, and two, I didn't really have the time to do anything together. So the few things that were asked about, we'll try and cover over the course of this series G-Spot. Also, folks, don't forget that we may not have a G-Spot every week. It's only if and when they're needed. And for anyone that doesn't know what the G-Spot is, there's plenty of books out there that tell you how to find it. Regarding the DGT League's G-Spot, though, it's a place where we get to talk about weird things that happen in our race league, or we get to explain things that people might not understand, or show things that people didn't see, or if we've seen something while we're doing commentary that we're like, holy cow, what happened there? We can go back and have a look at it, or if people have been reported to help educate, we'll go through some things on the G-Spot, especially if it's sort of really weird things that may have been brought to our attention. But remember that when we're doing a G-Spot on this, we are doing it basically as commentators, not as admins, unless at the time we state this is an admin's comment. And we will, where necessary, get the admin's comments if we need them. A bit like we did in the last couple of G-Spots in the previous series. Oh, I think I've covered everything there, Ray. Is there anything else I need to start off with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a G-Spot.
Yeah. Well, I will have put that at the start, I'm sure. Okay, so we've just had race 1 of the Thor series, called Thor because of Toyota Honda open wheel racing. Yeah, there are other reasons, but we're not going into it. So we've just had race 1 at Catalonia. Fantastic race, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a fantastic race. The drivers put on a show and showed us why it's the best league to be in.
And now we'll show why it's not. No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking. No, what I will say is we're going to have a look at a couple of things that did happen in this race, and it's not for any kind of picking on people or punishment or like searching people out or anything like that. I will mention the first one is I've decided to take a look at it because I know Ray hasn't seen it. Also, for anyone that was in the chat party with us drivers, you would have heard me at one point say to someone, just to let you know you hit me there, or you hit me there, by the way, which is a new nickname for everybody pretty much, right?
Did they hit you or touch you there? Come on,
well,
you know what we're in.
Well, you'll find out. But my mum had a carer come and see her a few weeks ago, and I got there, and she turned around to the carer and goes, "This is my son, by the way." So, well, that's not my fucking name, is it? So my name is now, by the way. So I've decided I'm going to spread that. So now I've mentioned it, people will say it, and you'll go, "That's not my name," or "That's not his name." And it's something you'll never have spotted before. It's just one of those things. It's like if you've never seen a Tesla, but now when you look and see one, you see them everywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
So, right, let's take a look at this first one then. We'll have a quick look at this video clip in 3, 2, 1. So, G1, race 1. If you no longer go for a gap, have a Kit Kat instead. So we're looking at DEMONR here, closing in on the back of SGP. This is lap 16 of the race, where DEMONR's got fresh tyres, SGP hasn't. DEMONR gets a good run, and a little bit of contact between the two of them. Now, it doesn't seem like much, but that's where the comment was made. You hit me there, by the way. So SGP's tyres are knackered, and in the middle of this corner, it just has a little wobble there. He's a little bit slower through the corner, and sort of moves across the track. I don't think he realised he'd made contact with DEMONR, but what I'm going to do is slow this down here, and if you look, he's not actually steering left. His car was pointed left, and he didn't realise it. Now, if we go on looking at DEMONR, he gets close, and there's a little bit of contact. So from DEMONR's view, it looks like SGP has come across, but SGP hasn't turned into him. And if you look at DEMONR's steering, I think DEMONR did also move a little bit to the right as well. So they've kind of come together. So if we go on board with DEMONR here, I think we'll be able to see a little bit together. But also,
You just hit me
we're
there,
going to have
Steve,
another
by the
look
way.
now in slow motion on that view, because what I want to point out is the radar here, Ray. And this is why I mentioned this to SGP. If we look at the radar, you don't even see SGP's car really on the radar, but there was definite contact between the two. So, yeah, so this is heading up to that contact.
Oh, you can see it, yeah, nowhere near.
Yeah. Now, it's possible I might have deleted the wrong bits of clip there, but I've already done that once already. But yeah, on the radar, it never... I mean, you could barely see SGP on the radar, and that's the reason I mentioned it to SGP, because if he had been looking at his radar and thought, I'm far enough ahead I can move across, the answer would be, actually, no, you're not. The radar is a guide. Go on.
But he didn't move across, he done the classic SRI in Steve F1 at where was Nürburgring?
No.
Where Steve F1
Spa.
went. Was it Spa? Or was it Nürburgring? Oh, it was Spa, sorry.
Yeah.
Apologies. Had his car at an angle and SRI kept us straight.
Well, this one is slightly different.
It's slightly different, but
Yeah.
the lineage that SGP's took is like Steve F1. He's not moved any input or anything.
Well, this is where it's handy having spoken to SGP, because what you're saying is kind of right, but if I then give you the information that I got from SGP, which was, in talking to him, he was saying he was making no effort to move over to the left. He just wanted to stay in the middle of the road. He didn't realise that his car had crept over to the left. So he's kept his steering straight, thinking he's leaving space. But unfortunately, yes, he has, but his car is just pointed a little bit to the left. So I'm trying to think. It's a little bit like... okay, Brazil. You know Brazil's turn 1? You don't stay all the way over to the white line on the right, all the way up to the turning point of turn 1, do you?
No.
No, because if you do, you're going to end up off the track, probably. So you get to a certain point, and then you'll turn a bit, and then go straight, leaving the edge of the track alone. So although you're going straight, you are actually going sort of diagonally across the road. It happens in many corners. Now, this is a situation where SGP's come out the previous corner, he's straightened his car up, but it's just got a little bit of diagonal on it. So, yes, he's driving straight, but it's closing the gap a little bit on the left-hand side. Admittedly, DEMONR is also, he's got over to the edge of the track and has also moved to the right a little bit. So they've kind of come together, but that's not the reason for me pointing this one out, really. It was more, I mentioned it to SGP, not for anything other than because of the radar. Because at the time, I'd seen the radar and knew that I couldn't see him on the radar, but then there was contact. So that's why I wanted to let him know it on my live stream. might have actually, we won't have heard it, Ray, but the viewers might have actually heard me say, "You hit me there, by the way. It sounds worse than it was meant. It was simply information rather than a telling off." Because I don't think SGP did anything wrong, personally. Now, if it had resulted in me going off the track, that would have been a slightly different scenario. I think in that situation, I would have been thinking, okay, I perhaps should be being waited for on that one.
Possibly. But we don't know, because it never happened.
It never got reported. But,
Yeah.
but I mean, again, it's to kind of emphasise, though, if someone was to say, well, the radar showed me that I was in front. Well, we've already spent the time prior to this championship doing all we can to make the drivers aware of the difference in the radar. So that's... Go on.
And this one that you've shown has given a classic example
Exactly.
of the radar in a race.
Yeah. Now, luckily, because I obviously live streamed that, I'd got footage of my radar. Unfortunately, we can't get footage of the radar on the replays. So sometimes in situations will happen and we won't be able to see what the radar is showing. However, we know that there is a difference. Okay. What I do want to do, though, is I want to move on to the next one.
Okay.
Which is, I'll give it a quick countdown. So 3, 2. Sorry, I was just making sure I'd pressed record on this. Otherwise, we'd have been talking for 12 minutes and not captured anything. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, let's go. So G2, race 1, Gary went for the gap and got kitty litter instead of a Kit Kat. Now, this has been reported by Gary, and I think it has been reported, but it's for awareness, I think, and education more than anything. On this view, we don't really see anything, and we didn't see this in the race. And you'd look at that and go, well, what's the problem? We're on board with Dave on his T-cam, and he's heading up here. Similar situation to SGP, moves over to the left a bit to open up into the corner. Unfortunately, though, for Dave, Gary has closed in. As Dave's had a little wobble on the corner, Gary's keeping over to the left, and Dave's just moved across. That move over to the left to open up the corner has just put Gary onto the gravel. So if we're looking at this camera angle, Gary's right over to the left, and Dave just moves across, and it's wheel to wheel and puts Gary sort of into the gravel. So there's Dave's little wobble in the middle of the corner. Gary doesn't move over to the right. It is Dave that moves over to the left. Now, this is a situation where we don't get to see the radar. So we can't see what the radar shows. But if we do this in slow motion, you can see that Dave does clearly make a move to the left. Now, I'm not in any way, shape or form suggesting that Dave did anything malicious here. I genuinely don't think he realised Gary was there. Now, if he did look at the radar, it's possible it might have shown that it made him look like he was far enough ahead to move across. Unfortunately, though, Gary was much more further up the road than DEMONR was in the last clip we saw. And also Gary was as far left as he could possibly be. So I think for this one, I mean, looking at it from a commentator's perspective, because we haven't looked at it as admins yet, it's a situation where I could fully understand that Dave the Heart might have zero idea that happened. But I could also understand if he did end up getting a penalty for it, because Gary was there and Dave's movement has put Gary off the track.
Yeah, I think it's back down to the radar on different vehicles. There's different distances between the cars front and back, so
I mean, I didn't look at the
I
mirrors.
don't think there's much I could add to what you've already said on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's I was gonna say, I didn't go into looking at what the views might be in the mirrors, because we've been through that many times. So we know that there is a difference in perspective there, but it's one of those things. It's a bit like we saw with DEMONR and SGP. Yeah, SGP was not on the radar, but there was contact, and that's the important bit. And it wasn't because of lag. We know why it's showing a difference on the radar. It's also why on GT7 they've zoomed the radar out a bit so you can see a bit more. So we know why it's doing that. Now, DEMONR didn't report SGP, didn't end up in a crash. Gary has put a report in on this one, but I actually think it's a fair, as bad as it might sound to Dave, I actually think it's a fair one to report, because the contact has resulted in Gary ended up being off the track and spinning around. And if Dave didn't know it had happened, then it gets brought to his attention and reminded that, crap, the radar's not great in this one, is it? Okay, I need to be much more aware of that. And we know it's not easy, but, I mean, someone could perhaps ask the question, Ray, well, why not just say, well, we'll educate you with this one, you don't need to apply any penalty?
Well, we've kind of already educated on the radar system since we started the league. So then we give a pre-season education on the radar, I'm sure. If I can remember right.
We did a whole show on it.
Yeah, because we do so much, sometimes I forget. I was like the tenants.
Yeah.
But so that it's how much of the education do you give before you apply a penalty, if you want to put it that way, or
I mean,
it goes to stewards. Although we don't want to, as a
we don't
league,
want to give penalties, do we?
but yeah, we don't want to give.
And we don't go looking to give penalties.
No, like we're past that stage of way back in the day when we were young and before this league, and that we're way past all that stage. But no. We try and give the drivers as much information before the season starts, so I mean, they've got all the information there and they can work on it before the season starts. And then it's down to racing, and you've got to apply all that information into your racing. Yeah,
and I mean, what I was going to mention was that let's say that hadn't been reported, but we were aware of it, and Dave had waited for Gary, I'd have still wanted to put it on a G-Spot to be able to show that this is something that could have happened because of the radar. And if Dave didn't know it had happened, or if Dave thought that he was ahead, we'd be able to say, well, look, unfortunately you weren't, but you did the right thing by waiting. So this is one of those things, again, where... And also, we know at times it's... I mean, okay. I'm kind of asking you questions here, but I think it's a poignant question to ask. As if I was just a driver. Why didn't Gary just say something to Dave at the time?
I don't know. To be honest,
I don't either. But also, and this is nothing to do with Dave, it could be with anybody. Like, for example, I mean, I said to SGP, you hit me there, by the way. So, no, I didn't. Now, I know 100% that SGP made contact with my car. But because I've tried to say it in a nice way, but it's actually come across a little, not aggressive, but it's not a happy, cheery, because we're in a race battle situation. It's instantly taken a bit more defensively. It's like, no, I didn't. So it's possible that had Gary have gone, Dave, you've just hit me off. Dave, no, I didn't. I was way ahead of you in the mirror. well, you hit me off, and it could escalate, and it doesn't matter who that conversation could be. It could be so easy to escalate it beyond. I mean, sometimes we have conversations, and we've heard conversations this week with people going, "Oh shit, sorry, I hit you there. Are you okay? Are you all right?" They're like, "Yeah, it's fine. Carry on." Or like, "Yeah, don't worry." Or, I mean, normally people would apologise if they know they've messed up. But this is the thing where people tend to get caught a little bit. It's when they perhaps don't know that something has happened. So, for example, we see plenty of the drivers waiting when we saw DEMONR take evasive, didn't hit Steve F1, but he waited for him, let him back through. We saw Art Powell waiting on the finish line to let us SRI through. And throughout the course of the race, we've seen other people waiting to let other people through. It's what we do. It's one of the rules in DGT, and it works. But if you don't know that you need to wait, that's when you can sometimes get caught out. But that's why it's not a bad thing when people bring situations like this one with Gary and Dave to our attention, because if Gary said nothing at all and Dave had no idea it had happened, then Dave would still have no idea it would have happened, and Gary could end up getting frustrated. However, Gary brings it to our attention. Dave may or may not get a penalty, but we get to talk about it, we get to show people, and whatever the result of that report is, we've been able to show the footage of exactly why that may be. Now, if Dave does get a penalty, some may think it's harsh, some may think it's fair. Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
And Gary could have been on it.
Yep, true. He may have not. Some people aren't in the chat party, and they don't have to be. We don't enforce that kind of thing. And also, Gary at the time may not have been sure of what had happened, because I mean, if you remember, one of the things we do say is check it after the race.
Yep.
Because that's the thing. Gary could easily have gone, "Dave, you just hit me off." He could have even said it in the nicest way possible, and Dave could have gone, "Oh, did I? Oh, sorry, mate. Okay, I'll wait for you." And then Gary looks at it afterwards and go, "Oh, crap. Okay, it was my mistake." So I don't fault Gary for not saying anything.
That's why I had to go back. That's why I left the party quickly. It's like, I better go back and double check these incidents.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, there's nothing wrong.
But I was caught in the moment.
Yeah.
So we know how people get caught in the moment, and then if you're fighting that much, and you go, "Oh, you've hit me off." No, I didn't. And then you go, "Yeah, you did." And then it just escalates, and next minute you've got a shouting match that the admins are trying to jump in and sort out before the race ends.
Yeah, that's where Send It to the Page has come from. I mean, there was something that I was asked to have a quick look at by one of the drivers, which I did think about putting on the G-Spot, but it was I didn't really have the time to get the footage together, but it's one I might put it on the next one. And I had a look at it, and to be honest, I ended up saying to the person that I don't know if it's something I could report. I think I'd potentially put the blame on the curb, because I couldn't, in the quick look I had, I couldn't tell if this person had been hit by someone else. There was someone there and there was someone close, but there was also a curb there. So I couldn't tell in that quick look whether it was the curb that spun them, or whether it was the curb and contact, or whether it was contact and a curb. So it's one that we may have a look at, because it'd show why it'd be very easy for someone in that situation to go, "Oh, you've hit me, you've spun me," but then actually maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't touch you. Maybe it was the curb.
And it'd be one that would, if you yourself can tell with a quick look, it'll be one of the ones where we'd need to have quite a close inspection of what happened.
An in-depth examination.
Yeah, and I'm the fucking prostate exam.
No, they don't ask you to bend over anymore. They get you to lie on your side and tuck your knees up to your chest. But there we go. Right, we'll move on to the next one now. No footage for these next two, by the way, folks. It's just going to be me and Ray talking, so sorry about that. And Ray's no idea what these are about. So moving on to the next one then. G3 Thor qualifying boost. As a topic of conversation, I think this is quite an interesting one, Ray, because I don't know if you know, on Monday, right, when we were doing practice, it might have been before you joined us, I asked the question, do we get boost, the overtake boost in qualifying? And I can't remember who told me the answer, but the answer that I was given was no. There is no boost in qualifying, it's only in the race. Now, when we talk when we talk overtake boost, it's the boost you can press during the race. Now, the way it works is you have one amount of boost and you can press it 10 single times for 1 second shot of boost. You can press it and hold it for up to 10 seconds. Once it's gone, it's gone. So you could press it for 3 seconds, let go. You could press it for 3 more seconds and then press it for 4 seconds if you wanted. But once it's gone, it's gone. So in the race, it's a 40-minute race, but you only get 10 seconds worth of boost. That's why in commentary we were talking about there's no point using it early on. And it turned out that when we get into qualifying, we all pretty much finish the first lap and someone goes, overtake boost is on. Oh, right, okay. So, what's the deal there then, Ray?
Admin's never done their homework.
Yeah.
That's all I can say is admin's never done their homework on that. Because when admins test, we don't really test qualifying.
No.
We test practice in a practice session or a race setting. We test how the cars handle. We test contact with the cars.
How the old
as
curves,
well. The curve, the tyres. We try and figure out what's the theme with the tyres. What's the theme with the fuel? Do we want tyre wear? Do we not want tyre wear? Do we want fuel? Do we want fuel? Do we want it to be fuel just gets you to the end, or you have to save fuel, or you need to pit for fuel? Tyres, same situation. Do they get to the end, or you've got to save your tyres to get to the end, or make sure there's pit stops in there? That's the kind of setup we've been doing. So I think this is the first car with boost that we've drove on a season. Yeah,
it's the first car with boost on a button. Now, I mean,
so
one thing I will say is
we never tested qualifying.
Yeah.
Like, we're still learning as well, so yeah.
Well, I don't know if I am. I'm getting old now. What I would say is, though,
every day is a school day.
Fucking isn't. It's an old school day. What I will say is that, just in case anyone takes it literally, we do test qualifying when it's needed. So when we believe it's needed. So, for example, there is the possibility on GT Sport of having a different tyre wear setting and fuel burn setting in qualifying compared to the race. So we could, for example, have tyres that last ages in the race but burn up really quickly on a hot lap. The problem we found with having those kind of differences, though, and it's the same with the fuel, is that the practice session prior to a qualifying session has the qualifying session settings, so anyone that wants to practice laps for the race can't. The only way they can practice that is to be in a race, and when we race we have boost, so you don't really get to if someone wants to work out what their lap times are, you don't really want to do it in a race. You want to do it in the practice session, like we have on a Monday. You have some time practicing to see what lap times you can do, see how long your tyres can last. Then you go into a race situation and you get to see what it's like, how the tyres fare with the battles, and how effective the boost is, how much time you lose in the pit lanes and stuff like that. So when we then do the practice races on a Monday, that's got the boost on it. And if we take the boost off, it's not correct practice for what we'll experience in the race. Now, some people may say, yeah, but if your boost is off, then it shows people's actual race pace. Well, yeah, it does, but it's further away from what we'll experience on the Thursday than getting the extra boost we would get if there's only 6 or 7 cars on the track. I've gone on a bit there. For anyone that doesn't know, if you've got 16 cars on the grid, last place gets about 6 seconds lap of boost. If you've only got 10 cars on the grid, last place gets about 6 seconds worth of boost. And it's graded through, like, from second, third, fourth, all the way down. So if there's less cars on the grid, the boost is stronger, basically, from second, third, fourth, all the way through. So that can be a bit different, but at the same time, we have boost on for a reason, and that's to keep people in the action. People can be crashed off and not be out of the race. It's more about enjoying it. So when it comes to testing qualifying sessions, yes, we've tested them when it's been needed for tyre wear setting, or perhaps a fuel burn rating if we want it differently, or when we was checking for the yellow flags it was bringing out, with the blue flags and stuff, it was doing things wrong there. We've tested those, but with this car in this championship, it wasn't something that was seen that or thought that needed to be tested, so it wasn't. So you're right, it was simply an oversight by the admins, which I think, Ray, me and you should say we didn't have as much input with this one. We didn't really test this one as much, did we?
No.
So Steve Friends didn't test qualifying, but we can't really blame him because I wouldn't have tested qualifying either. But when I mentioned it on Monday, if someone then had said, well, I don't know, it's all right, well, let's pop a quali session on and find out. Now, the only upside is that we all found out at the same time on Thursday, on race night, after the first lap of qualifying. So nobody had an advantage or a disadvantage, as far as I'm aware, apart from possibly... I'm here, yeah, I've been talking for ages.
No, you cut out a wee bit for me, so I don't know.
All right. It's just you. It's getting old. You're getting old. I forgot what I was saying now. Yeah, so for anyone that wasn't in the chat party, they may not have heard the conversation, but they will have been able to see on the screen the boost was there available for them. Now,
and also you can retire to the pits to get it refilled for qualifying.
Yes. Well, obviously that's a conversation that happened at the time, because it doesn't refill in the race, even if you drive into the pits, and it doesn't refill. But in qualifying, if you exit back to the pits and then go out again, it does refill for you. Now, you don't have to drive back into the pits for it to do that. To be honest, I think if you drove back into the pits, changed your tyres and drove out again, I don't think it'd fill up for you, because you've effectively done a pit stop rather than be backed into the garage and have your battery charged.
Yeah.
Okay, talking about the boost as well quickly for the race. Some people may say, well, where's the point of having such a short amount of boost available for a 40-minute race?
It comes with a car. I don't know.
Do you not know? You do know. You've just had a few beers since. There is one main reason. This is really... You know what? If you don't get it, I'm not going to tell you. I will add it into the video, so you'll have to wait till the G-Spot to find out what it was. You're really racking his brain now, aren't you?
The question again.
Why, with this car, have we only got boost that lasts for 10 seconds when it's a 40-minute race? Why such a small amount of boost available?
Get interesting. I don't want to give you a boost constant that it lasts for the full race, and it's just like...
You're going to stumble upon the right answer here. Keep going.
Right, I'll use my boost here, and then somebody else uses a boost there, and it's all, especially in the pack, if everybody's got the boost for X amount of an overkill amount of time, the pack's just going to be wild.
Well, it'd be pointless. You didn't stumble on the answer, but I'll tell you. Okay. As soon as I say it, you'll be like, oh yeah. We could have boost that could last the whole race easily. But you'd be basically holding a button for 40 minutes and it absolutely kills your fun. We know, we tried, we did test that. Even if you have enough boost that could last 20 minutes, you'd be on the button all the time and it'd kill your thumb or your finger. It doesn't sound like much, but honestly it would, because people would literally just be holding it all the time. So with the boost, it was decided, well look, in a kind of way the boost is a bit pointless in this car, but if you did only have a short burst of it, you could basically ignore it for most of the race. But if you're in a situation where you really needed it, or on that last lap, it's the last lap sprint to the line, you could use it then. Or as I think we saw people, like we saw SGP used his boost to try and make the move onto Twilight into turn 1, and Twilight used his boost to keep the position into turn 4. Didn't use it all, just used enough.
Yeah, and especially if you've got a Fanatec D Pro, the buttons aren't quite there for using boost. You stretch your thumb like hell.
Yep, absolutely.
So, yeah. not that was made in before I bought the wheel. Well, the 10 seconds was made in before I bought the wheel.
Yeah. I mean,
it wasn't put
was
in place because I got the wheel.
No. I mean, we
we
tested the boost amounts a lot, and to be honest, it's one of the reasons why we haven't. No, that's not true. We have entertained the idea of using the proper Mercedes F1 car, but it was scrapped instantly because of the DRS. DRS is available all the time as long as your steering's straight, which means you're going to want to use it all the time, which means you're going to spend a considerable amount of time with a button pressed. That's not how we want to do the racing. If you're on a pad, you'd be used to it, and it's one of those things, again, if everybody's pressing it all of the time, it's pointless, and unfortunately you can't turn it off in the settings. It would help if there was a setting that goes DRS deactivated. Then we'd have been able to eventually step up from this season to maybe an F1 season, which maybe have been carnage, but anyway. But yeah,
and also we're thinking about drivers' wheels in that, because if you hold down the button, it loses that spring back flexibility.
True.
Over 9 races, over 40-minute races, kind of holding that button down constantly might have damaged it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when you look at like a PS4 controller, I believe is still about 50 quid. Still difficult to get hold of. If you're constantly pressing one button down for nearly 40 minutes, that button ain't going to last very long. And if
your mate's Dave.
No. And also, I mean, if you got a PS5 controller, I don't know how much they're worth, but you don't want to be knackering them because they've got special. I don't know if you know this, Ray, but with shooters Like the R2 and L2 button, for example, you press it and it's normal, like a PS4 one. But you go and play a shooter, and it's trigger resistance on it. So the more you try and press it, the firmer it gets. Yeah. So you try holding one of them for it's So it really could mess a few things up. So they're the reasons why it's such a short amount of boost. And also, I do think it'll make it more interesting. Right, okay, we're going to move on to the last one because we waffled on quite a bit there. So
2 more.
One more.
2 more.
Is it 2 more? Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's 1.
No, it's 2.
I must be missing one. Oh no, hang on. No, you're right. You know what? You're right. G4 off-season G-Spot. Well, we covered that earlier. Why we didn't do one. Although
just EA reinstates because it's a day before that we covered that.
what's the day before?
Sunday.
Oh right, yeah.
The race footage.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Well, I mean, I mentioned earlier that we put the question out, didn't we, at the end of the last season? Like, people want to ask stuff, they can. I mean, there was a couple of things asked. I mean, I don't know if you want to mention them, Ray. I mean, if it's something that we can sort of talk about quickly. I mean, what were? Oh, you deleted them.
Yeah. Sorry, I've got them back up. Give me you waffle on and I'll quickly get to them.
Waffle. I'm starving, you know. I am really hungry. Well, let's see. Well, my name's Korg, and I made a rocks, and yeah.
Alright, so Rich asked maybe a discussion about future season car championship, maybe a discussion about boost or slipstream.
Okay, well, cars and future championships, we'll get onto that in a few moments in the next G-Spot section. Boost and slipstream. Well, on GT Sport, I can't see us doing races without boost or slipstream. However, the annual Rivals Challenge will probably make another appearance at the end of this year, where there won't be boost, I don't think. So, yeah. And again, I think the simple reason for that is why we have boost on is to keep people involved in the race. Yes, you can use it as a tool to your advantage, and you should. But it is there solely or mainly for those situations where, like we saw with the incident with Dave and Gary on this G-Spot video, Gary's ended up in the gravel on lap 1. Without boost, that's Gary out of the race. He'd have had to get back on the track, go into the pits, get a new set of tyres. Now he's 50 seconds behind. He's out of the race. He's not going to want to sit there and do laps on his own for 40 minutes or make one more mistake and end up at being lapped, and then you're not going to want to do that. No one's really going to want to do that, and that's not why we do the racing in DGT League. We do it to have fun, to enjoy ourselves, to have the battles, and the way that is helped is by having that boost. So when situations like that happen with Gary, he can go, okay, yeah, that's not great. I don't think Dave realised, but I'm not out of this. And he wasn't. He was right back into the race. So, yeah, I can't see us taking boost off. Can you, Ray?
Nope.
No. With the slipstream's an interesting one, right? Because, okay, if we take the Expo that we drove recently in the season, the slipstream effect on that is at the same setting as the slipstream effect for this current car. But the amount of slipstream you'll get on the Expo is barely nothing compared to the amount of slipstream you can get from this car, because this car has aerodynamics. So it's pushing air up pushing the car down, making a space behind that the car can get into to get the slipstream effect. It's more powerful even though it's at the same setting. It can't be reduced anymore that I know of. It could be strengthened though, Ray. Would you want to strengthen it?
No, I don't want to strengthen it because that means it'd be like today's Formula 1 where you overtake the car, and if it's a long enough straight, the car you're overtaking would come straight right back past you.
Yep.
And it doesn't. Yeah, you'd have to figure out where you're going to pass and whatnot, but I don't think that would be not enjoyable. I don't think that's.
It's not as. I was going to say realistic, but if I take us back to when we did have boost on a more powerful setting, there was a few things it used to create. One was it created the opportunity for many 3, 4 and more wide situations. Because, let's say for example, if I was leading a race at the moment, if I'm leading and I've got a 9/10 of a second gap to the car behind me, I know that they're not really going to be getting much slipstream. If I'm leading, so first to second, they're probably not going to gain on me much, if anything. If I'm at a second, they're not getting my slipstream, and that's realistic. Now, if you're in the pack, that's going to be slightly adjusted because of the boost. You're going to be quicker anyway. So if I was in 6th and I had a 1 second gap to 7th, I would expect them to be able to catch me because of the boost, getting them into slipstream range and then slipstream helping them. But what we found with stronger slipstream was, if I was leading, I could be 3 seconds ahead, say somewhere, we've just raced at Spain, so 3 seconds ahead coming out the final corner at Spain and be overtaken into turn 1. That's not right, that's not.
Yeah.
Because that 3 second gap, especially if it's a 3 second gap that's been created because I'm quicker than second place. Because this is another way to look at it with the boost. Let's not forget, first gets no boost. So if first is pulling away from second and third and fourth and everybody else, then first is damn quick. Because everybody else has got a bit of time advantage being given to them and they're not able to catch up. But if you've got a 3 second gap and that can be swallowed, then no. However, in the Wacky Wally races or the What the Ford races or the What the Fuck races or whatever may be coming in the future, stronger slipstream is used in those because we want to get people bunched up. We don't want people running away at the front, Raymond, in the Dirty Championships, do we?
No, but what can I say?
You're good at cheating.
But especially imagine that in the pack, everybody with a high slipstream and the boost we've got.
Yeah.
That would just be the whole pack side by side down the straight of Barcelona.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, the other thing we found as well, I mean, now, if you're if you're behind someone slipstreaming them and you pull out, if you've got the speed, you can creep past them. If they've got slipstream off a car ahead, then there's a good chance they're going to be able to stay side by side with you. Maybe just eke ahead. That's kind of realistic. But when we had the super slipstream, you come flying up behind super slipstream, pull out, no slipstream, but the car you just nailed past has got slipstream from the car ahead and they just leave you behind. Again, wasn't quite realistic.
And that's why you hear us shout a lot. to the left, to the right.
Yep.
What are you
Yeah.
doing over there, Bob? Come back here.
Move left a bit. I mean, that brings us on to another topic, actually, that we will cover on a G-Spot in the near future. We should make a note of this as well, Ray. Weaving. It was asked, what it was put to us by one of the admins for us to have a conversation about weaving. We won't do it now because we've gone on for quite a while. We've got one more to look at. Was there anything else from the previous comments, actually, or was that all?
Yeah, there was. Just give me a wee second.
Oh, Gary, something about his first dive bomb season.
Dive bomb season and drivers improving or something. Just give me a second.
Well, while you're typing that, what we might be able to do with that one, Gary, is I tell you what, we'll put this out there to the viewers. So, not
So
necessarily.
Gary's was my first dive bomb season. How people have improved, whether it be speed or awareness.
Well, maybe one thinking is maybe the best way that we can actually cover that is with a G-Spot feature, whether it be a couple of clips or a full G-Spot. What I'd ask people to do is keep an eye out for things that you see happen on track that make you go, he's done well there. Fair play to him. So, for example, DEMONR cocks up braking zone, takes evasive, gives a position back. Now, we'll have a look at that, but that's one of those where it's like, okay, it's not good, but at least he's had the awareness to take the evasive, give the message. So, let's say, for example, if you are battling side by side with someone that maybe perhaps in the past it's ended up with a little bit of door banging accidentally. If you find yourself side by side with them, not touching, having a great battle, let us know. Because that's how we can then really show the awareness, the improvement of the racing and really highlight it. Or perhaps if you've seen, I don't know, when people have done things that make you go, fair play, well done, respect.
Yep.
It's hard for me to pick out examples because
Yeah.
it could be anything.
Yeah. I think getting the examples in or us looking for examples in the next race or the next couple of races would benefit that more.
Well, thinking about it, I know, for example, from my race, I had, a brilliant side-by-side battle with, with Steve F1. Pretty much always do. But I also know I had a brilliant side-by-side battle with Twilight, where we were side-by-side, through a number of corners. And that's one for me where I could highlight that from Twilight's perspective of, okay, I've ended up overtaking him, but his quality of driving in that situation was spot on. I was doing everything I could to give him space, he was doing everything he could to give me space. We both got through it safely-ish. A
reference to Gary, his racing side by side with Artpal.
Yeah, in the last championship.
Yeah, go and look at their races and
yeah,
how much time they spend together. It's like fucking wingmans. I'll be your wingman any day.
Yeah, let's face it. Let's put it this way as well. There's no reason why we can't have a what a move section of the G-Spot. If you've done an overtake that you think what a move, you can let us know. If we think it's a what a move, then we can always have a look. Because
no, we'll put the moves in and go. What a move!
Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
What a move or what a move? But yeah, this is one of those things where we're not going to go looking for everything, and when we record the footage, we're not going to capture everything. We've got 2 cameras on the go, and we're still not going to capture everything. So if you've done brilliant overtakes, or I know Gary's defended like a madman against me, but a fair madman recently. And I think it's brilliant. If I don't bring that to people's attention, they might not know. So if you have those moments in races over the course of this season, guys, let us know. Because if we haven't seen it, or even if it's been like it's on the camera and we haven't really spotted it, let us know, because we can show it. That's the best way we can sort of show examples of how people have improved. Because what I wouldn't want people to think is that this G-Spot thing is all about showing the bad stuff. It ain't. Don't get me wrong, when people crash going into the pits, we're going to show it because it's funny. But I'm more than happy to show some brilliant bits of racing. Nothing would make me prouder, really. You're going to end up getting all moist on the G-Spot.
And there's one other comment. Where to find it?
I don't know. It's been so long. I can't even find a woman, let alone find a G-Spot. Anyway.
We'll need to go to Gary and ask him where his G-Spot is. Because that's his base.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, we've got one more G to go and look at, so let's deal with that. So, G-WIZ, GT7 and the future. Okay, so I've kind of brought this up here. I mean, we've talked for about an hour already, Ray, so I suppose we don't really want to waffle too much longer now.
Yeah, drivers get bored of this.
Yeah, but I think it's only fair and right that we do talk about GT7, because people do ask us, like, what's happening with GT7? Are we going to be moving over to it? And all this kind of stuff. And a few of the guys that haven't got the game know that quite a few of us have, and they may not know what's going on. They may be feeling left out. So a couple of bullet points I'll mention, and we can get into it in a bit more detail.
You're not left out.
Yeah, number one, you're not being left out, don't worry. Number two, the game is nowhere near ready for league racing. They may be doing the daily races things, which may not be looking too bad, but it is nowhere near ready for league racing. And anybody that is actually doing league racing on it at the moment, to be honest, they'd probably be better off coming back to GT Sport. That's the current situation. So further bullet points, don't worry about people that are playing it at the moment and doing well or whatever. Don't worry about it. Do not rush to get the game. It's not cheap, and at the moment, I think a lot of people would say it's not worth the money.
Yep.
Yeah. The single player is good. It's a little tricky. It's not necessarily easy. The single player is good. There's quite a lot of features, but it is nowhere near ready for league racing.
Plus, you're going to put yourself in a different style of driving that you could, when you say you play it and then go back to GT Sport, and you're like, well, this is weird. So sometimes it's beneficial not to play the game.
Well, that's why, I mean, in the last championship, personal life kind of got in the way a bit, and on the days on a Wednesday, like the two Steves and Ray would be like, oh, let's go play on GT7, and I'm like, nope, why not? If I play GT7 on a Wednesday and I'm racing on a Thursday with very little practice, I'm going into GT Sport on GT7's driving. I don't want to do that, because it'll frustrate me, it'll annoy me, it'll offset me. I won't be used to it. Wouldn't be helping myself to be able to drive the car. And to be fair, the last championship was kind of tough enough as it was. I didn't need that confusion going into it, because, I mean, as you know, right, I've been doing racing for a long time. And okay, I can jump from one car to another and pretty much not have an issue. But I couldn't go and play iRacing or R Factor 2 or Need for Speed an hour or the day before a race, because that'll be that's what my memory bank is on. And the difference of GT7 to GT Sport on a wheel, as you know, it's massively different. So everything that is automatic on GT Sport has to be thought about for GT7. So then when you start thinking about it and then that becomes automatic, you go back to GT Sport and then you've got to think about that instead of it being automatic.
Yeah, it'll slow you back down.
Yeah. So what I would say to the drivers is, if any of you are wondering when we'll be moving over to GT7, the answer is not yet.
How long's the game been out?
4 months.
4 months.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why
How much have they done on the online lobbies?
they've not touched them. So
4 months. So.
yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, so just a few factors with the online lobbies. Okay, Boost does not work. Slipstream, I'm pretty sure, doesn't work. Once you've created a lobby, you can't change any settings within that lobby. If you want to change anything, you have to close the lobby and set up a new one. The connectivity between the cars is not particularly very great. It is a bit jumpy, and to put it into perspective for our guys, it's not quite Jason levels of lag. Kind of like, Jason little bit jumpy lag, not Jason TARDIS lag.
Yeah.
Like that, a lot of the time, very difficult to know where people might be, and that's with only 4 cars. So you bring 16, it's going to be worse. So
and it takes at least 10 minutes for the 4 cars to actually sync up properly,
yeah,
as we found out. And you put 16 cars in there, how many minutes it's going to take of you going round the track
if at all. Not only that, there's no qualifying sessions. There is we do timed races. Once the clock runs out,
whoever's first over the
line, you then get about 30 seconds and that's it, race is over. So it doesn't even, like at the moment, I think it's about 3 minutes you get to everyone to finish the lap. Yeah. I think it works out, it's about 2 lap times worth of amount of time you get to be able to complete the lap that you're on. Yeah, you don't get that. So imagine if you did a race at the Nordschleife, first finishers, if you're more than 30 seconds back, you don't finish the 1 lap race you might be on. So that's an issue, especially when you think about it. I mean, how much action we have on our last laps. Imagine if 30 seconds into that last lap,
it gets cut
off, race over. So, yeah, no.
That'd just be a little bummer, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So there are many issues. Now, we're doing this G-Spot.
What's the PP, the BOP?
Yep, BOP doesn't work properly.
Trying to set up, it's PP, so balance, performance points, sorry. So you're trying to get everybody's car to be on the same performance points after they've upgraded it.
Yeah.
You'd have to give them a list of every upgrade to get to these points.
Yep.
And
well, this is the thing.
Then,
I mean, I want to cut you off a moment, though, Ray. Because I'm going to cut you off.
You know, I'm finishing my sentence.
Well, the reason I want to cut you off is because we could talk about this for ages, and unfortunately, those who don't have GT7 have zero idea what we're talking about. We could try explaining it, but it's better if they find that part for themselves. What we'll say is that what Ray is sort of touching on is there are many factors, but we can't even test them. Because of the lobby, the way the lobby settings are at the moment, we can't even test the different things. Not without it being an absolute fucking ball ache. Or just simply can't test certain things. So we can't even start making inroads into, okay, well, how long would your quali session be? How would your tyre wear be? How if people wanted to have rear wings on and all this kind of things? Because there are ways that we could do it and regulate it, but not if the game doesn't allow us to even look at things. So yeah, there's so much that needs to be done. Now, regarding future cars, nothing has been announced by the DGT admins at the moment, but I will say that discussions and research has been going on for quite some time as to what. Go on.
Since before the academy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it has been since before then. So the 3 cars were chosen for this trilogy, and once they were chosen, discussions started straight away of what will come next if GT7 is not ready. And there is a massive list of cars that has been ran through and whittled down. And I'll be honest, we did actually whittle it down to 5 or 6 cars. We voted on them, we picked one, and we chose that was the car that we were going to go with.
And then it got scrapped.
The idea got scrapped because a good point was made, which was that we've used sort of high aerodynamic cars 2 seasons in a row. Do we want to go even more with that? And after a discussion, it was actually no. Okay, so whatever is next is not going to be a high aerodynamic car. So it's not going to be like a Group 1 or an F1 car or anything like that. I'm not going to say what it might be. But we have been preparing for go-kart. Yeah, we have been preparing. Oh, you know, I've not even tried a go-kart GT7. I don't own one.
Yes, you do.
Do we? Oh, well, there you go.
Where, on here or GT7?
On GT7.
Oh, right, I thought you meant here. So.
Yeah, so we've been preparing for no GT7 for quite some time. So we are sort of prepared for what is going to come next, and we will announce stuff with that, I would guess, by race 4 or 5 of this championship. We'll be able to announce certain things on that for what will come after this championship, and then what will hopefully come after that as well. So
we need to assist the friends.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they've tested qualifying. But yeah, so don't panic, folks. It's not like we're in catch-up mode. We've been ahead of the ball for quite a few months, and it is also another reason why we did the trilogy thing, because we knew it would take us up to the date of GT7 being released and a few months beyond, where they could hopefully sort out their problems, and then when we're ready we can move to it. Well, they've not sorted out their problems, so we're okay. Don't panic. Anything else?
Learned a lesson for Codemasters.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. We did. We learned our lesson from the old F1, I'll say old F1 games in the 2014s, 15s, 16s. But, I mean, Steve F1 did tell me that to be 4 months ago now, that he was seeing so many conversations on Twitter, Instagram, GT Planet, of people that basically were running leagues, and GT7 come out. It's like, right, we get GT7, we move on to it. They've scrapped G-Spot and they've fully moved over, and then gone, oh shit, this ain't ready, and then they're buggered. Now, have they been able to go back? I don't know, but that's where they clearly didn't have the experience that we've had, where we go, you know what, let's just check and make sure the game's right before we even think about moving over to it. And that's why we said all along to the drivers, don't worry about GT7. There is going to be zero rush. I mean, let's put it this way. They brought out an update on it on Thursday. We're recording this on Friday. It's coming out on Monday. The update that they brought out has fixed zero of the issues regarding lobbies. Now, they're probably not going to bring another update out for a month unless it's an emergency one, but they've not done that for the lobbies yet. Surely they would have done it on this update recently.
They've only done most of the update recently because there was an uproar on
Force
a
feedback.
wheel.
Yeah.
A wheel that was built for the game.
Yeah, well, from what I've heard, I've not looked into it too much. From what I heard, the Gran Turismo Logitech wheel that was designed for the game was having issues with its force feedback strength, in that it was massively too powerful and people were getting hurt. Now, I don't think that was even a direct drive wheel. Now, I don't know if it was a force feedback issue that affected other wheels. Personally, I didn't experience an issue. But they reduced the force feedback
To nothing.
to pretty much nothing as an emergency measure so people weren't getting hurt. I can kind of understand that, but obviously people have created an uproar because if you haven't got the wheel that's got an issue, what's the problem? But I can kind of understand the going, okay, let's just...
No, it was also the people that had the wheel that was made for the game. Like, I've got the wheel that was made for the game. £600 I've paid for a wheel to go back to less than a Logitech G29.
Yeah, less force feedback than a Logitech G29, yeah.
Yeah, it was as if it was on a, what was it, a Thrustmasters
T1, T80. They used to have the T80.
the
Rubber
bungee cord.
bands. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it felt like, and that's where the uproar came from.
Well,
was
yeah,
like,
because people spending £600 for the direct drive force feedback wheel and getting no force feedback.
and it's not that you buy a direct drive force feedback wheel. You know, if certain situations, if you hold on to that wheel,
You've just broke up massively then, and I didn't hear a word of what you were saying. I know what you said, but... Hello?
in a direct drive wheel.
Oh, I can hear you again now.
So if people are buying a direct drive wheel, you'll probably hear this in the video 3 times. It might be Dave that can't hear, DEMONR can't hear me, but
Sorry, I can't hear you.
it'll still record. Yeah, so the buying, some people that go to buy direct drive wheels know that if they get into a crash and that and they hold on to the wheel or try and grab the wheel at a certain time, they're going to get an injury.
Yeah.
So they know that before buying it.
Yeah. And if
So
you don't, you fucking should.
Yeah, and I think that's where more of the uproar came from, is like, well, if we're onto direct drive wheels, then we should know better kind of when to let the wheel go.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the thing is, direct drive wheels have been like that for years. I mean, you can turn the strength up and down, but I mean, it's called direct drive for a reason. It's meant to simulate real life as much as possible, and the way it's built is to do that, and it's strong. And in real life, I mean, Fernando Alonso is currently still injured from the crash he had at Melbourne, where he didn't let go of the steering wheel when he crashed, and he hurt himself. Now, is he going to blame the steering wheel? No, he should have let go. There we go. But yeah, so I can understand people being pissed about having spent the money, but I can also understand, in a way, GT going, right, if there's a problem, like with the software, then fix it. And that's what this latest update should have done. It's a big part of it. The other thing that concerns me is, and I hope to God that they don't do it, is GT, I believe, have already announced when they're going to be shutting down G-Spot. Or is it, no, they haven't announced it. History of new GT games being released has been, the new GT game gets released, 6 months later the old one is shut off. Now, if they do that...
we did 2 months.
Well, if they do that, I think they lose their whole customer base.
Yeah.
They'll lose everybody on GT Sport because they'll have shut it off. And they won't go to GT7 because everybody that's got GT7 will be telling them don't bother. Now, that's a situation that I am genuinely concerned about, because if GT7 isn't ready, they can't shut they can shut GT Sport off, but they shouldn't. They really shouldn't.
Not if it's not ready.
No. Now, admittedly,
they've got to keep their GT fans or players there, because if they don't, then this is something F1 can grab a hold on to if they've got their stuff set out ready for this next F1 game.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, though, I would never buy another F1 game. Not that's through the Codemasters EA Sports system. But also, I like the variety of driving all different types of cars. I don't want to just be stuck to an F1 car or an F1 car and an F2 car. It's yeah.
What's on? Is Assetto Corsa on console?
Say again?
Assetto Corsa.
What about it?
Is that on console?
It is, but the one I played was absolutely fucking terrible.
I know it was terrible to begin with, so I don't know if it's improved.
The one that I played not that long ago, within the last year or two, I wouldn't recommend it. It really was bad. But this is the thing, I wouldn't necessarily want to go searching elsewhere. I'd want GT to sort their shit out. Now, I would hope that they can, because there was that game. What was that game that Keanu Reeves was involved with? That when it came out, Cyberpunk, yeah, came out absolute disaster. It completely failed on everything it was meant to do. Eventually, they got it sorted out, from what I hear, and it's phenomenal. Now, I've never played it, I don't know, but
I've got it.
But apparently, it is what it was meant to be. Now, that's where GT7 needs to get to. Now,
we need to vote for Rory.
Well, yeah. The thing is, though, he made the mistake of offering to do it for free. If they're not paying him, they've got no incentive to get him to do it. He should have asked for a salary. But that is the situation with it, where
of the biggest.
Well, 3 of the big YouTubers that are on GT7 are not really playing it anymore. So, and I listened to Rory's comments the other day. For us, when we've gone and played on GT7 recently, I haven't really enjoyed it. One, because of one of the camera views that they adjusted, but has been readjusted. I hope they haven't changed it since. But it wasn't enjoyable because of the faffing about, the fucking about, you can't just stay in a lobby and change track. You can't just get together and socialise with your mates and just have a laugh. There's other shit you have to deal with, and you don't want that. We know if we wanted, we could go on GT Sport in 10 minutes time, set up a lobby, do whatever we want, and if we want to change our mind, we can change it. We don't have to faff about.
We'd have it changed in an instant, right, I don't think these tyres are working, let's change it to that.
Yeah.
Boof. Bash, there we go.
Yeah.
Not another 10 minutes we're waiting.
Well, exactly. You know what? That's just reminded me of something we didn't point. So that talks about so if we took a car and said, right, okay, we're going to go and test this car, right? We can sort out the power and the weight and stuff. But if we've got it locked to one tyre setting and we go, oh, hang on, actually, maybe we should have used a different tyre setting. Okay, well, we can't unlock that setting. Got to set up another lobby now. It's all right. Just save the settings. You can't save the settings, which means you have to manually input all of the settings again, and that takes time, and it's bloody annoying. So yeah, so that's the situation with GT7. So we're not going anywhere near it at the moment. I mean, what would you say if someone says, "Well, I've got the money now to buy it. Do I just buy it now and hope it's better in the future?" They could do the single player.
Can do the single player
and earn money and get cars, but
yeah, and then you can join us when we're on there. I think it is averaging out once every 2 weeks we get on there.
I think I've been on once in 3-4 weeks.
Well, you've been busy.
Yeah,
that's understandable. So it's averaging about once every 2 weeks. Me, SGP, and Steve F1 are getting on there.
You know what I'd say? I'd probably say if you find yourself in a situation where you've got the money free at the moment and you want to get it because you may not be able to get it in the future, then
just go buy a bomb.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say get it, but keep Gt-Spot and get it in the knowledge of you're not getting it to be sociable.
Yeah. If you've got no disk space, don't get it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. It is not a small game. I can't remember exactly the size of it, but I mean, I think if you've got a 250 gig station, you're probably going to have to clear it of everything. So, yeah. But anyway, good luck with that. Right, is there anything else you wanted to mention, Ray? Because we've waffled for fucking ages. Excuse me. I think I say we're done for this one. You trying to find another joke?
No. It is 89.445 gigabytes. I was checking it this.
Yeah. So it's not a small, but here's the crazy thing about it. Do you know you actually need double that to be able to put it on your system?
And then you need to download the update and copy.
Yeah. Because I know when I went to install it, I had about 120 gig available, and it told me I didn't have the space. And I did some research, and you basically need double the space for it to do it. Once it's on, yeah, it doesn't take up double, but yeah. But anyway, right, okay. Well, thank you for waffling on this G-Spot with us.
And apologise to the drivers if it seems like it dragged on, but try to give as much information as possible.
Yep. And you never know, maybe it hasn't dragged on. See what I did there?
You try to check the time while you're doing that. How long's it went? Oh, shit.
Right, okay. Time to end. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you all again soon. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.